In December 2015, a group of tech multimillionaires met secretly at the Rosewood Hotel. They were terrified. Google had just bought up the best artificial intelligence minds on the planet. To the guys in that room, letting one giant monopoly control the digital brain of the future was a death sentence. So they made a pact. They would start a non-profit charity called OpenAI. Elon Musk bankrolled the dream, throwing in $44 million of his own cash to get it off the ground. Next to him was Sam Altman. Together, they promised the world that OpenAI would never be about the money. Cut to 11 years later. That little world-saving charity is now a massive corporate empire worth $852 billion. And the two men who swore to protect humanity just spent 3 weeks dragging each other through a federal courtroom in California. Musk is calling Altman a con man who flipped a charity into a private piggy bank. Altman's legal team is firing back, calling Musk a bitter competitor who is just pissed off he didn't get to control the market himself. This isn't a debate about the future of tech anymore. It's a dirty, multi-billion-dollar corporate lawsuit over who gets to own the first real artificial general intelligence. The non-profit dream is completely dead, and the gloves are entirely off. In 2015, Google was completely dominant. They had just acquired a British AI startup called DeepMind for $500 million, effectively cornering the market on the world's best machine learning talent. To the tech elite outside of Google's walls, it looked like Larry Page was building a private monopoly over the future of human intelligence. Elon Musk was genuinely terrified. He had been close friends with Larry Page, even staying at Page's house when visiting Silicon Valley. But during their late-night debates about artificial intelligence, Musk realized Page was dangerously casual about the risks of AI, once even calling Musk a speciesist for prioritizing human survival over digital life. Musk decided he needed to build a counterweight. He teamed up with Sam Altman and started OpenAI. At that time, Sam was running Y Combinator. They weren't looking for a massive corporate hierarchy. They wanted a team of the absolute best AI researchers on Earth. But recruiting them was a nightmare. Google was paying its top AI scientists multi-million-dollar salaries and stock options. OpenAI had no stock to offer, they were a charity. Musk and Altman had to sell a mission. They sat down with researchers like Ilya Sutskever and convinced them that working at Google meant building a corporate weapon, while working at OpenAI meant saving humanity. It worked. Sutskever and a handful of top minds left millions on the table to join OpenAI for a fraction of the pay. In 2016, OpenAI's labs in San Francisco were buzzing. They were completely transparent. They published their research papers open source, allowing anyone in the world to download and build on their code. Elon Musk was the main financial engine, but in early 2018 OpenAI was hitting a massive wall. Google Brain had just developed the Transformer architecture, a breakthrough that meant AI could scale endlessly if you fed it enough data and computing power. Suddenly, the cost of running OpenAI wasn't just a few $millions a year anymore. It was going to require billions. Musk looked at the data and told Altman the truth. OpenAI was falling fatally behind Google, and he had a solution. Musk proposed taking full control of OpenAI himself, wanting to fold it directly into Tesla. Altman and the other co-founders looked at Musk and said no. They had started OpenAI specifically so that no single billionaire could have unilateral control over a digital god. The rejection was a massive blow to Musk's ego. With Tesla currently drowning in production hell, trying to build the Model 3, Musk didn't have the time or patience for a boardroom standoff. In February 2018, he abruptly walked away, stepping down from the OpenAI board. When Musk walked out the door, he reneged on his promise to fund the remaining balance of his $1 billion pledge. He left OpenAI completely stranded, with a massive supercomputer bill, zero revenue, and an empty bank account. Musk assumed the project would simply wither away without him, but he was completely wrong. Sam Altman found himself backed into a corner. He knew OpenAI's original mission was dead, so Altman came up with a plan. He decided to split the company in two. On top, they kept the original OpenAI nonprofit board to act as a moral compass. But underneath it, Altman created a private, for-profit subsidiary designed to attract massive Wall Street investors. To quiet the critics who accused him of selling out, Altman called it a capped profit company, promising that any returns over a certain limit would go right back to the charity. But investors were still skeptical. Here enters Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. Nadella was looking for a weapon. Microsoft had spent decades lagging behind Google in search and AI innovation. He saw Altman's desperate search for cash as the ultimate shortcut. In 2019, Microsoft and OpenAI quietly shook hands on a historic $1 billion deal. But it wasn't a standard cash infusion. Most of that money came in the form of computing credits for Microsoft's Azure cloud infrastructure. Microsoft wasn't just giving OpenAI money, they were renting them the massive digital warehouses required to train their models. In exchange, Microsoft secured exclusive rights to commercialize OpenAI's technology. Suddenly, OpenAI had the horsepower they needed. And in late 2022, they unleashed the beast. When OpenAI launched ChatGPT, it was meant to be a low-key research preview. But within just 5 days, 1 million people had logged on. Within 2 months, it had 100 million active users, making it the fastest-growing consumer application in human history. Watching all of this from across California, Elon Musk was utterly furious. He watched the company he had personally named, funded, and protected from corporate greed morph into a subsidiary of Microsoft. He felt like he had been completely played. Musk took to his X account, firing off public warning shots, tweeting that OpenAI had become a closed-source, maximum-profit company effectively controlled by Microsoft. But Altman didn't care about the tweets. He was moving too fast. By 2023, Microsoft doubled down, pumping an additional $10 billion into OpenAI. Altman had saved the company from bankruptcy, outmaneuvered Elon Musk, and built a dominant tech empire. By late 2023, Sam Altman was flying across the globe, meeting with world leaders, and acting as the undisputed king of the AI boom. But inside OpenAI's San Francisco headquarters, the scientists were growing terrified of what they had built. Leading the internal resistance was Ilya Sutskever, the company's chief scientist. Ilya wasn't interested in valuations or Microsoft's stock price. He was obsessed with safety. He began to fear that ChatGPT was a gateway to an uncontrollable artificial general intelligence, and that Sam Altman was moving way too fast, prioritizing commercial hype over human survival. On November 17, 2023, the nonprofit board decided to use its ultimate power. In a Friday afternoon Google Meet call, the board abruptly fired Sam Altman. They released a brutal public statement, claiming Altman hadn't been consistently candid in his communications. It was a corporate coup. But they completely underestimated Sam Altman's power. Satya Nadella and Microsoft went into damage control, furious that a nonprofit board they didn't control had just tanked their multi-billion-dollar partner. Then came the real leverage. Over 700 of OpenAI's 770 employees signed a letter threatening to quit and follow Altman to Microsoft if the board didn't resign. Just 5 days after being fired, Altman marched back into OpenAI as CEO. The old board was completely dismantled. Ilya Sutskever was pushed out, and heavy-hitting corporate figures like former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers were brought in to stabilize the ship. To Musk, OpenAI was officially a rogue, maximum-profit monster. Musk decided it was time to go to war. He launched his own rival AI firm, xAI, and unleashed Grok, a chatbot integrated directly into X. He aggressively started poaching OpenAI's top remaining talent, offering massive salary bumps and equity. But the real escalation happened in the legal system. In early 2024, Musk filed a massive lawsuit against Altman, Brockman, and OpenAI. He argued they broke a foundational promise to keep OpenAI a charity for the public good, and instead turned it into a closed-source cash cow for Microsoft. OpenAI didn't back down. They fired back by publicly leaking Elon's old emails from 2018, proving that Musk himself had once pushed for OpenAI to become a for-profit entity under Tesla. They called Musk's lawsuit a desperate attempt to sabotage a competitor he was losing to. What started as a secret meeting in a luxury hotel had officially devolved into the biggest, dirtiest corporate war in Silicon Valley history. By April 2026, the petty internet bickering stopped. The multi-billion-dollar legal war finally landed inside a federal courthouse in Oakland, California. Elon Musk amended his lawsuit, demanded a staggering $150 billion in damages, the complete ouster of Sam Altman from OpenAI's board, and a court order to permanently block the company from transitioning into a fully commercial for-profit company. If Musk won, he wouldn't just hurt OpenAI, he would effectively break it in half, right before its planned trillion-dollar public offering. On April 28, 2026, Musk climbed onto the witness stand. For 3 straight days, the world's richest man was grilled under oath. His legal team didn't hold back. They used a brutal narrative, repeatedly telling the 9-person jury that Sam Altman and Greg Brockman had pulled off the ultimate Silicon Valley heist, that they had literally stole a charity to enrich themselves and line Microsoft's pockets. Musk testified that he felt completely conned, claiming he was a fool for ever trusting Altman with his $44 million. But OpenAI's high-priced defense team, led by attorney William Savit, was ready. When it was their turn, they painted Musk as a deeply hypocritical, bitter billionaire who was throwing a legal tantrum because he missed out on the biggest tech boom in human history. They showed the jury that back in 2018, Musk himself had actively pushed to turn OpenAI into a commercial entity under Tesla's control. For 3 weeks, the cringy boardroom drama was laid bare for the public. Then came May 18, 2026. The trial wrapped up and the jury went back to deliberate. Everyone expected a long, agonizing wait. Instead, the jury walked back into the courtroom after less than 2 hours. The jury returned a unanimous verdict completely in favor of Sam Altman and OpenAI. They ruled that Musk had waited too long to file his lawsuit, completely missing the 3-year statute of limitations. Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers immediately agreed with the jury, dismissing Musk's claims on the spot. Outside the courthouse, OpenAI's lawyers gloated, calling the lawsuit a hypocritical attempt to sabotage a competitor. Inside the company, the path was completely cleared for their upcoming historic IPO. But Elon Musk wasn't backing down. He immediately took to X, furious, telling his millions of followers that the judge and jury never actually looked at the merits of the case. He tweeted, "There is no question to anyone following the case in detail that Altman and Brockman did in fact enrich themselves by stealing a charity. That trial was meant to finally settle things. Instead, it basically poured rocket fuel on the fire." In May 2026, OpenAI was officially preparing to drop its confidential paperwork for an initial public offering, planning a massive Wall Street debut for the fall of 2026. The valuation was $852 billion. But if Altman thought he had completely won the AI race, the tech market had a brutal reality check waiting for him. Just days after OpenAI celebrated its legal victory, their chief rival Anthropic dropped a financial bomb. Anthropic announced a massive $65 billion funding round, pushing its valuation to $965 billion, and eclipsing OpenAI for the very first time in history. And then there's the specter that still haunts the entire company: Elon Musk. Musk isn't sitting around feeling sorry for himself. He has already integrated his own AI company, xAI, directly into the $1.25 trillion SpaceX mega-merger. For Musk, the war isn't over. What started in 2015 as a pact to save humanity from a corporate monopoly has devolved into the most expensive, aggressive tech war the world has ever seen. The race for the first real artificial general intelligence is no longer about saving the world. It's about who gets to rule it. But the story doesn't end here. To get the full picture, check out my video on how Elon Musk completely took over the future. Trust me, it's a roller coaster.